If you're struggling with your vitality, energy, mood, focus, or sleep, this podcast is for you. Your host, Dr. Ann Tsung, ER doctor and aerospace flight surgeon, will help you reach for the stars and remove the barriers or blockades that have been holding you back from living your best life. If you've been challenged by your health, relationships, or productivity, then it's time for a breakthrough. So here's your host, Dr. Ann Tsung.
Hello, welcome to It's Not Rocket Science Show, and I am your host, Dr. Ann Tsung. And today we actually have Alyssa Chieve here. She's a sophomore at UT Dallas in pre-med, and we're going to actually do a Q&A session of what a NASA flight surgeon actually does. And she's got lots of questions, and I think a lot of people in the audience are not really familiar with aerospace medicine or what a NASA flight surgeon does. So I figured this would be a perfect opportunity for a podcast episode. So Alyssa, thank you so much for being here and being willing to do the interview today. Please give us an introduction of yourself and also did you discover aerospace medicine? And what do you envision yourself doing, say, in 5 to 10 years with this?
All right. Thank you for having me. Hello, I'm Alyssa. I'm a student at the University of Texas at Dallas. I'm a sophomore biology major and Spanish minor, and I'm interested in aerospace medicine. I have always been interested in space, like growing up. So were a lot of kids, but I never grew out of it. I've always planned to be an astrophysicist or something of that sort, but my path kind of diverged into medicine. But I've known that I want to contribute to space somehow and academic medicine. And then a few months ago, I found out about aerospace medicine from an Instagram post that one of my classmates reposted. I saw that it was reposted by the American medical, the aerospace medical student. No, I forgot. It was asthma.
AMSRO or asthma. Yeah, there's the resident side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I clicked on it, and then I was like, oh, what the heck is asthma? And then I Googled it, and I found out all about aerospace medicine. And I knew this is what I wanted to do, as well as have an MD, PhD.
Lots of good things ahead. I'm so glad that you reached out. So let's go ahead and dive in some of the questions that you have for me. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have the same questions as well. And actually, before that, if you didn't know, so my full-time job is as a NASA flight surgeon, and what that is a physician for astronauts. And so we take care of them, pre-mission, during the mission, and after the mission. So this is very quick intros to those in the audience. Okay, go ahead, Alyssa.
Okay, so these questions are some of my questions and some of my peers' questions, all combined. So first question. So aerospace is sort of a subspecialty. What are some of the specialties that people usually specialize in? I know emergency medicine is a big one, but let's say, could you do something like pediatrics? Is there a required specialty of some sort?
There's no required specialty. That's a great question. You can be any specialty you want and then do an aerospace medicine training for 2 years after that. That comes with a Master in Public Health, MPH. So our prior residency director, he was actually OB trained, and we've had internal medicine. I'm critical care, ER. So there's other ER critical care or internal medicine as well. There's a pharmacist and MD as well. So you can really be any specialty, family medicine, anything, just excel at the specialty that you decide to do. And then once you learn the medicine well, you can do the aerospace medicine training, and your skills, no matter what, you'll learn the skills that translates into flight surgeon work.
So when did you find out that you wanted to do aerospace medicine? Was it early in your journey or way later?
I knew, like you, wanted to contribute to space very early on. I moved to Houston when I was 9 years old, went to NASA, and and in college, I told myself that no matter what field I go into, I knew I was going to go into medicine, and no matter what specialty I go into, I was going to end up working for NASA regardless. And I found out about aerospace medicine when I was studying at a bookstore. Didn't want to study, so I just kind of Googled space medicine and found the UTMB Aerospace Medicine training program and kind of reached out and spoke with a NASA flight surgeons and the current resident at the time. And that's what started me on the path.
What does a typical day look like for you?
It is variable. Because of COVID, it has been
Mhm.
hybrid. Now we're starting to go back on site 3 times a week or more. It depends on the program you are assigned to. As an example, I am assigned to right now 50% International Space Station operations. So what that, and then 50% to CLDP. So that is the commercial side. So what that means is that, so 50% of my time, I am in meetings taking care of anything that comes up with the crew I'm assigned. I'm assigned one crew and I'm the deputy surgeon. And then the crew also has a prime surgeon. And then we follow her through her training, any training that comes up. And we also get assigned to like 2 or 3 other astronauts, and we're kind of their primary care doctor. So we go to their appointments, we coordinate their care, we answer any questions that they have, we go to some hazardous trainings. And then we go to meetings that has to do with International Space Station operations, the real-time operations too. For the other 50%, I'm assigned to commercial. Essentially, it's another program that is working with commercial providers to create space station to dock to the International Space Station or create their own space station or have the private astronauts launch to International Space Station. So it's a very new program. You need to look at the requirements, medical requirements for the vehicle, and looking at food, water, radiation, exercise, so many things. So there's meetings for that team and that group as well. So it's a variable, and every day there are some set status meetings of the week, and there are also some other appointments that kind of pop up depending on the needs of the other crew and other programs.
Yeah. So this career sounds like really intensive. So how do you maintain your work-life balance, and are you able to have one?
Actually, I like it because it's way better than switching from night shift to mid shift in the ER and ICU. In the ICU, you're working 6, 12, 13 hours. You barely have time to go to the gym. And this is Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. And you have time to go to the gym. You have time to see your baby before your baby goes to sleep. So I actually love it. And also, I leverage my time. I delegate a lot of things out. We have a house manager who takes care of the baby, the household items, cleaning, etc. And I have a full-time virtual assistant who works for me. He gives me 40 hours a week, and he takes care of my personal tasks. He takes care of my productivity coaching tasks, my social media, my podcast. So everything's leveraged out to other people as much as I can, so I can be in my zone of genius.
Have you dealt with burnout, and how would you have dealt with burnout?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I was burned out just through training in medicine, like residency in critical care. I remember working like 9 shifts in a row, not sleeping well, doing nights, not getting a chance to work out, or I am like going to the gym and falling asleep in the parking lot before going to the gym, taking a cat nap just so I can go to the gym. So long story short, burnout is a boundary you draw for yourself because nobody's going to watch out for your time as much as you will, in your health as much as you will. And actually, just yesterday, I did my last night shift ever. I told the director and I told him that I cannot do any more nights. Not everybody has the choice to do that, but if you do, I highly suggest it. That to take your health into consideration, if you have to do any sort of nights or shifting, then you tell them I can only take days or mids and no more nights. And, they just have to accept it. That's going to really prevent burnout for me and the jet lag feeling. Other things is that I do meditation, and also I do things for self-care, regularly scheduled massage biweekly. And I love sensory deprivation float, like the float tanks. And that really gives me some thinking time to slow down my heart rate, to get me into parasympathetic system mode. instead of always stressed out in the sympathetic system mode. So I would say for burnout is really an issue of not prioritizing ourselves and self-care. And you can't really take care of other people, your patients, your family, without focusing on yourself first. So it is about scheduling non-negotiables for self-care on your calendar, and everything else works around that.
So this is like a question that some of my friends have as well as me, because some of my friends want to do an MD PhD. So what does research look like in this field?
There's a lot of research going on at NASA. And if you want to focus on research, there's ways that you can split your time into like 50% research and 50% operations. There's always things that you need to study in the astronauts, or maybe like what we call like an analog, terrestrial analog, so on the ground with people, but you test things out on them first. You do research on them first before you can implement it to the crew. When I say crew, I mean the astronauts. So there's like not enough people to do research actually. So we're short on manpower. So if that's what you love to do, you have lots of opportunities.
Can flight surgeons be an astronaut candidate?
Oh yeah, we've had many, more recently. Like I would say, Dr. Serena Anand. She graduated from the Aerospace Medicine program and became an astronaut, already went to space. Dr. Kjell Lindgren, and then most recently the new class, Dr. Anil Menon. She was also part of the Aerospace Medicine residency and just got selected, currently in training.
So like, are they able to, let's say, treat the crew in space, or no?
It's very commonly that they are what's called the chief medical officer. So when they go to space, some people will be selected as the chief medical officer with a little bit additional training. So the people who are already physicians or have any sort of medical background, very commonly they're selected to be the CMO, the chief medical officer.
What are some opportunities for undergrads? I know it is hard to find like opportunities for undergrads in this field, but like I know for pediatrics, if you're interested in that, you can volunteer at a children's hospital or shadow a pediatrician. So if someone were interested in this field, what can they do to like grasp a better idea?
I think the first step is to go into the AMSRO website, the Aerospace Medicine like medical student and resident organization. Go to their website. They will have webinars. They have their social media posts. That will be the first step. And go check out the UTMB Aerospace Medicine residency website. Reach out to them. In July, there's usually a principal's aerospace and space medicine course. So I would reach out if you can to attend that class. Also, there's like a NASA clerkship. I do believe that it is college and above. I think undergrad can apply for it. So that's when you do a research project for NASA for a month, and you'll do a presentation on it. I did both of them, and they were both instrumental because it allows you to meet people from the field and to learn more about it as well. And then there's tour onto NASA campus as well, JAC campus, Johnson Space Center. The other thing is there are a lot of researchers who collaborate with NASA, and also NASA researchers themselves as well. And a lot of times you can reach out to them to see if there are any projects that you can help with. So I would say those are the top three best steps to start.
And I remember last time we spoke, I recalled you saying that Mayo Clinic has like one spot open a year. And I remember the McGovern was like 3, 4, I forgot. But how competitive would you say this field is?
Yeah, I think for civilian, yes, I think Mayo is one. I don't know if it's increased. UTMB, University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston has usually 3. And then there's the military route, Air Force, the Navy, and the Army. So it's competitive in terms of, it's because a lot of people, when they're interested in this field, they often dive into it quite deep and do a lot to get to know people, to get into the field. And yes, there are maybe like 4 civilian spots. So it's, I think it's gotten more competitive than before. Though I think if you do the right thing in terms of getting to know the people, getting yourself embedded, do research with other researchers or reach out, and just try to, if you can, do the NASA clerkship and the PASM course with UTMB. I think there are ways for you to get there. And if you need to reapply, you can reapply. Some people do have to reapply to get the spot.
Hmm. So, so what would make me, let's say, or anyone else like competitive enough? Like good grades, like long-term mentors, um, or like extracurriculars or anything like that?
Yeah, I think number one would be a good physician first,
Hmm.
after you
Yeah.
finish residency, and recommendations and building relationships. So it's all about building relationships with the program, embedding yourself in the aerospace medicine field, going to ASMA if you can, and participate in the AMSRO activities for medical students and residents, and meeting people in the field. And like I said, getting embedded, building relationships, that would be the best thing. In addition, of course, being a good resident, getting good grades, like you said, being a good
Hmm.
person, easy to work with, somebody who is motivated, who's resourceful, and somebody who can translate, who can work as a team, uh, because we're always working with different disciplines and engineers.
Yeah. So, I remember I watched the episodes of your podcast. I think it was like 7, 8, and 9. I don't recall,
8, 9,
but
10.
I remembered, yeah, yeah. But I remembered you saying that you recommend getting a good mentor. So how would other undergrads like go about this? How would they find a mentor?
I think the aerospace medicine, the AMSRO, medical student resident organization, they have a mentor-mentee match-up program. They definitely have had an event at ASMA, the annual conference. So the best way is to reach out to see if they have any mentors on their list that they can match you with. I'm not too sure on that, but I know that they can definitely help you.
So, what is currently one of the biggest challenges in this field? Like, for example, resources, uh, lack of people. Like, what are some challenges?
Yeah, definitely lack of human resources, I think, right now, just
Hmm.
because we have so many programs with Artemis going to the moon and with other commercial providers. There's like various programs that they all need flight surgeons to be embedded in the program so we can give our input for cruise health. So I would say human resources to do the operations, and also human resources to help with integrate like research, and also integrating the research findings and implement it into operations. So
Hmm.
there's definitely more need
Um,
for providers, for more flight surgeons.
are there any other places for like flight surgeons to work besides NASA? I know there's commercial and military. Is that pretty much it, or is there more?
I mean, it's broad category: commercial airlines, military,
Hmm.
with all the branches. Um, I mean, that's a lot of planes, a lot of pilots that who needs care. So it really depends on which route you want to take. You can work for the FAA as well to come up with policies, regulations. Or you can work for airlines. Um, yeah, it's variable. You can even deploy if you want to go in the military. If you have go through the critical care training, you can transport patients. As well. So yeah, just depends.
So if someone like were to work in commercial, what would that look like? Would it be like similar to what you're doing right now?
In terms of the care and the standards,
Hmm.
it would be a little bit different. Aerospace medicine is the care of pilots and astronauts. It's just that astronauts go way, the altitude is completely different. So they're exposed to like a very confined environment for a prolonged period of time. So are you asking would it be different in terms of the general medical principles? Or are you asking in terms of the flow of the day?
Like, I guess the flow of the day, what would that look like? I mean, um, like for example, would they have to go through the ICU and do all of that?
You don't have to go through the ICU for any of it, actually.
Oh.
So there's no critical care training, aerospace medicine training. I just happened to do like a critical care fellowship in between ER and
Oh,
aerospace medicine.
mhm.
So in terms of a commercial provider, the main thing is to keep the pilots fit and ready to fly and address any medical issues that they have. That's so it's a little different from the various programs at NASA, but the general principle is you are the caretaker and the provider, the medical provider for the crew, whether that's pilots from the commercial airline or astronauts with NASA, or maybe even private astronauts too, because some of the private space
So,
companies have flight surgeons as well.
so whenever I told my friends that I'm interested in this specialty, they have never heard of it. So why do you think that this specialty has never been really heard of?
I think it's because it's just not very, there are not very many of us, and it's not
Hmm.
broadcasted, or you really have to search for it. There's very few programs, so you would have to either know somebody or hear something about this on social media or podcasts, or be interested in NASA to know how to get into this. And that's why I created the podcast. It's part of the reason why we're doing this interview and partnering with AMSRO as well, to kind of spread the word to
Hmm.
the younger generation, I guess, so that you're aware and you can look into it this further if you're interested in this. So it is a work in progress to spread the word.
And all right, that includes all of my questions.
Nice, nice. And I guess the question that I have for you and really everybody else, who's listening to this, what is the one action step that you will take after this call to kind of get you towards that goal?
Wait, are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, um, I don't know, but after this semester, I'm gonna probably try to do something in the summer because I'll be free. Actually, can you send me those programs that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, and for anybody who is listening, it's go to the website, it's not rocketscienceshow.com. Go to episode page 8, 9, and 10. So either like any of those episode page will have all the links that I talked about, the resources. So I would go
Hmm.
there, get the resources of the links, or you can just go Google AMSRO, AMSRO, or ASMA, ASMA. That's the Aerospace Medicine Association. You can Google that and just explore the website. There are resources there. Under AMSRO, there's videos that talk about it. So I would highly suggest going to that. My contact is tsungannmd@gmail.com. So if you want, you feel free to reach out to me there. And I'm open to mentoring people and just kind of answering your questions, of course, anybody who's interested. And I think it's a really great and up and coming field. A lot to learn. Definitely, it is a journey, and the best thing to do is to get yourself educated, to learn about this field, to make sure that this is where you would like to go. Because the other side of it is that because our crew is usually pretty healthy, so you will expect, to keep up your medical skills. A lot of us do moonlighting work, so we do extra shifts in the ER, ICU, urgent care to keep up our medical skills so that we can see actual sick people. So just keep that in mind if you're interested in going this field. And Alyssa, anything else for me? Any last questions for me?
Um, Do you have any advice for me or all of these other undergrads?
Other than reaching out, talking to people, look at the resources, take micro steps, just do one step at a time, one step at a time. Don't have fear about talking to people. Just ask them to talk, a 30-minute phone call, 15-minute phone call, and that's going to get you the momentum down this road. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Alyssa. I know this is
Thank you.
this episode is going to probably benefit a lot of people who are interested in the field. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come up with these questions. And for people who are listening, again, just think of one micro action that you're going to take after this, whether Googling that website, going to my website, go to my podcast and listen to episode 8, 9, and 10. And that'll give you a lot of detail on my journey from a medical student all the way to my work as a NASA flight surgeon. And if you also want to learn about productivity, because I coach on productivity as well, please go to anntsungmd.com. That's ANNTSUNGMD.com. And you can apply to have a 45-minute call with me to see how we can optimize your routine and eliminate, automate, and delegate things out of your life so you can be your zone of genius. So again, thank you all so much for your attention, your presence, and remember that everything you need is within you now.
That's it for today's episode. Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review in iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a private VIP day for a health and life makeover with Dr. Ann Tsung herself. Then be sure to head on over to itsnotrocketscienceshow.com and pick up your free gift from Dr. Tsung. Then join us on the next episode.